What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the Vanguard beta is right around the corner, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to the early beta playtest against a bunch of other YouTubers, as well as plenty of pro players in there as well. So big thank you to Activision for inviting me out, but in today's first video talking about this, I just wanted to do a full, detailed overview of everything that we have access to in the Gunsmith. Keeping in mind, this is from the beta build of the game. There will definitely be more additions made for the full build of the game, but this is what we're going to have access to in the beta. But diving right in, let's have a look at our class setups first, and then we'll go over other things like the kill streaks and the field upgrades and everything. But essentially, when looking at the Gunsmith, the general class structure is basically identical to Modern Warfare. So we get a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, 3 perks, 1 from each tier with no wildcards available, so there's no mixing and matching and having multiple perks from the same tier. You just get 1 perk per tier. Then you get a lethal piece of equipment and a tactical piece of equipment. It is worth noting that the field upgrades are not tied to individual class setups like in Cold War. It's more like Modern Warfare where you just select your field upgrade and that's going to apply no matter which setup you're using, and you can change your field upgrades in game, but we'll look at those in just a little bit. The next thing I wanted to go over here is all of the perks that we have access to in the beta. For tier 1, the first perk we have access to is Ghost, and this one makes you undetectable by spy planes, enemy intel, and field mics, which are going to be coming to the game. And with this, it is worth noting, it's not like Modern Warfare where it's always working for you. It only works if you're actively moving. Next up, we have Fortified, which is kind of like Flak Jacket or EOD from the past. With this, you take reduced damage from explosives, and also, if you get hurt from an explosive, you will regenerate health faster than you would with any other form of damage. And then on top of this, you get an extra damage reduction if you are mounted, crouched, or prone when you take explosive damage. After that, we have Low Profile, and the description for this is fairly vague. I believe this is going to work like Cold-Blooded in the past, where it keeps you hidden from AI kill streaks. But at this point, I can't say for sure. One thing it does say is you're immune to the effects of piercing vision, and I don't know what piercing vision is. It might be a field upgrade or a perk or a kill streak or something that's going to be coming in the full build of the game, but I went through the whole Gunsmith and everything, and I didn't see anything called piercing vision yet. After that, though, we have Survival Training, and with this one, you get maximized resistance to stun effects, and you're immune to gas. So this is basically like Tac Mask from the past. But moving on to the tier 2 perks, first up we have High Alert, and with this one your vision will pulse when enemies that are outside of your field of view end up seeing you. Then we have a perk that I think a lot of people are going to be happy to see. This one's called Radar, and with this one, enemies will appear on your minimap when they fire an unsilenced weapon. So this will give you a classic traditional Call of Duty minimap, and I used this the entire time I played throughout the beta. It's an incredibly powerful perk, very, very useful. I still would prefer if they just gave us the classic minimap by default, but at the very least, we have the option to get that through a perk. But then after that, we have Forward Intel, and with this one, you see indicators for enemy reinforcements on your minimap. So this means every time a player spawns, they will pop up on your minimap briefly. You'll just get a brief ping. But on top of this, your minimap will show a wider area of the map. So this is basically the same perk that we saw in Cold War. At this point, I don't know if there is a counter to this ping when you respawn, though. But finally, for our tier 2 perks, we have Tracker, and with this one, enemies will leave behind a footprint trail, and you will be seeing those little skulls or those little markers appear on enemy death locations, not just your teammates' death locations, and it will hide the death markers of the enemies that you kill for their teammates, so they won't see that little skull appear when you kill one of their teammates. Now, moving on, let's get into tier 3, and the first one we have here is called Demolition, and with this one, you spawn in with an extra lethal, and thrown lethals will display an indicator showing the path of that lethal, and we did see this perk available in the alpha. Next up, we have Double Time, which works exactly the same as in Modern Warfare. It will double the duration of your tactical sprint, and it will increase your crouch movement speed by 30%. Next up, we have Tactician, which is kind of like Restock from Modern Warfare. However, at least based on the description, it says you only restock your tactical equipment every 30 seconds. So if this description is accurate, which I didn't test for in our play session, we won't be able to restock our lethal equipment. And I think this is a great change to the perk. But finally, for perks we have access to in the beta, we have Overkill, which allows you to carry 2 primary weapons. Now, moving on to the next thing I wanted to talk about in the Gunsmith, and this is quite unique and important to mention. This is the attachment selection for your weapons. And it turns out the leaks and rumors are correct. You can choose 10 attachments for your weapons by default. Like, you don't need a special perk or anything like that. Instead of Modern Warfare's 5 attachments, you can select 10 of them at any given time. And the gun that I ranked up the most in this short play session, I was trying to use at least a little bit of variety, so I didn't rank one gun up way too much. But I got the STG up to level 19, And this revealed 9 of the 10 attachment slots. And the 10th slot, I think it's pretty safe to assume what that's going to be. But we have the muzzle attachment, we have a barrel attachment, then we have an optic, a stock, proficiency, kit, rear grip, magazine, ammo type, and then I believe the 10th one is just going to be your underbarrel. So this is going to be like your underbarrel grips, for instance. So much of that is the same as Modern Warfare. However, we have proficiencies as well as kits instead of just a weapon perk. And then we have magazine and ammo types as separate attachment slots. So I did want to go through at least all of the new attachment category types so you guys can see what they are all about. I'm not going to go through absolutely every other attachment because most of them are basically what you'd expect from like Modern Warfare, for instance. And starting it off with the proficiencies, the first one's called Pressure, which allows you to reload faster while you're injured. Then we have Acrobatic, which reduces your aim penalty while entering or exiting prone. Then we have Vital, and with this one it says you are more trained in hitting the vital areas of the body and can more easily land critical shots. So I might be mistaken, we'll have to do more testing on this, but I believe this means you can deal headshot damage to maybe the neck or maybe the upper torso. Next, we've got Nerves of Steel, which gives you increased accuracy when you're injured or suppressed, which is interesting. After that, we've got Focus, which reduces the flinch when you're shot. And then finally, we have Sleight of Hand, which just allows you to reload faster. Now, moving on to the kit section, we've got Fast Melee, same as Modern Warfare. It just reduces the time between your melee attacks. Then we have Reach, which increases your melee range. Surplus, which increases the amount of XP you get for kills. Deep Breath, which allows you to hold your breath for a longer duration. Fully Loaded, which allows you to start with maximum reserve ammo. Defender, which gives you improved mount movement and use times. Heavy Hitter, which we saw in Modern Warfare, it gives you a greater stun effect on your target when you melee them. And then finally, On Hand, which gives you less downtime after using equipment. So I think it's actually really interesting that they've separated proficiencies from kits, so we can have like a certain combination of different types of weapon perks. And while I'm a little bit nervous about some potential combinations there, I do like the idea after seeing it. Now let's move on to the difference between your magazine attachments and your ammo attachments. 4 magazine attachments, these are going to be unique to each one of the weapons. So with the STG, we can have 7.62 Tokarev, 30 Russian short with 30 round magazine, 30 Russian short with 20 round magazine, or a 45 round 8mm Kurz round. Now, like I said, these are going to be unique to each one of the weapons. They'll have different combinations, different types of magazines. Whereas with our ammo types, we've got first up Subsonic. And with this, you have no minimap ping, no enemy skulls will appear when you kill them, and you won't have a visible tracer. After that, we've got FMJ rounds, which we saw in the alpha. These allow you to carry more damage through surfaces if you're shooting through something. After that, we have frangible rounds. And with these ones, it increases the amount of flinch that the enemy will receive when you shoot them. It will also delay enemy healing, and if you hit them in the legs, it will slow down their movement speed. After that, we have Armor Piercing, which increases the amount of damage you deal to vehicles as well as kill streaks. Incendiary, which we also saw in the alpha and had a lot of frustration with, and with this one, it just deals damage over time after you shoot them, so you're going to get a lot of kill trades with this. The cons to this, though, is it's going to be reducing your bullet velocity as well as your damage range. Then we have Lengthened, and with this one, you get a huge increase to your bullet velocity. And then finally, we have Hollow Point, which removes the damage penalty when you're hitting limbs. So in Modern Warfare, many of the guns dealt extra damage to the torso or the upper torso, and this makes it so you deal that same damage anywhere in the body, which is very interesting. And these ammo types all appear to be very powerful, and they will have a very noticeable impact on how your weapon performs in-game. But in either case, that's pretty much all of the attachments that I wanted to specifically talk about. However, one big thing I wanted to mention is it looks like they're taking notes from Black Ops Cold War, and we will be able to see actual weapon stats in the game itself. And I absolutely love the addition of this. Obviously, many of these numbers in the beta build of the game are just placeholders at the moment, but I'm happy to see this return from Cold War. Now, backing things up a little bit, let's have a look at our field upgrades that we have access to in the beta. And like I said, these work exactly the same as Modern Warfare. The first one is a supply box, which has a fast recharge rate. Then we have armor plates. And again, this one has a fast recharge rate. Unfortunately, we weren't able to unlock and use these, so I don't know if it's just like one armor plate or several armor plates that you get out of this. But after that, we have the Goliath, which is a remote-controlled bomb on tracks. And you can actually run people over with this as well and kill them without detonating this, without exploding it. But this one does have a very slow recharge rate. After that, we've got a field mic, just like in Cold War, so you can place this down, and it will reveal any enemies that come within a radius of that, unless they're using Ghost and still moving. And then finally, we do have Dead Silence as a field upgrade. However, I did want to point out in the build that we played, footsteps were still incredibly quiet, and I never really felt like I was missing Dead Silence. I very rarely heard an enemy footstep, and I didn't feel punished for moving around the map. So it seems a little bit strange to have this as a field upgrade, and I am quite nervous that because this is there, if they want to make it useful, they're going to end up increasing the base footstep audio, which I think would be a terrible change, but that's just my opinion on this. Those are the field upgrades that we could see in the beta build. Now let's move on to the kill streaks. And yes, I said kill streaks, not score streaks. These are traditional Call of Duty kill streaks, just like in Modern Warfare. And first up, at 3 kills, we have Intel, which reveals enemies to the summoning player through repeated pings on the minimap over a short period. So it's like a personal radar here. Then at 4 kills, we can get a care package, a spy plane, or a counter spy plane. These are all in the same section, so you can only choose one of these 3 at any given time. After that, at 5 kills, we have the glide bomb, which works basically identically to COD World War II. The death machine, which we did see in the alpha. This one has exploding rounds. You can't be really accurate with it, but it really puts people down quickly. As well as the mortar barrage, which allows you to toss a flare canister to mark an area for repeated mortar fire. Unfortunately, we didn't unlock this, so we weren't able to actually see this in-game. But then at 7 kills, we can get a war machine, which I managed to get one out of a care package in our play session, so here's a little bit of gameplay of the war machine in action. Seems pretty standard and straightforward for a war machine in Call of Duty. After that, at 9 kills, we have the Flame Knot, which you guys have probably seen in the alpha. This is like a juggernaut, but you have a flamethrower that has an amazing range to it. And then finally, for the beta build of the game, at 10 kills, we have attack dogs. And these are the traditional World at War or Black Ops 1 style attack dogs that you call in. They come in on the map, and they just chew on everybody. And I earned this a couple times throughout our play sessions, and they are quite powerful. They're very, very good. They're not that difficult to kill. I've had enemies call them in against me as well, and I'm really happy to see attack dogs coming back into the game. Now, we're almost through everything in the Gunsmith, but a couple other things I haven't mentioned yet. All of the lethals we have access to. We've got the frag grenade, the gammon bomb, which explodes on impact, the Molotov cocktail, demolition charge, thermite, and throwing knife. Then for our tactical equipment, we've got the smoke grenade, stun grenade, gas grenade, stim shot, and the S-mine. And then finally, I wanted to go through all of the weapons that we'll have access to in the beta. For assault rifles, we've got the STG-44, the ITRA Burst, the BIR, the NZ-41, and finally the Volk. Then for SMGs, we only have the M1928, the Sten, as well as the MP40. For shotguns, we've got the revolving shotgun and the auto-loading shotgun. As for LMGs, we've got the MG42, the DP27, as well as the Bren. For marksman rifles, we only have access to the M1 Garand. And then finally for primaries, our sniper rifles are the 3-line as well as the Kar 98. Then getting into our secondary weapons, we've got the machine pistol, the Rat, as well as the 1911. For launchers, we've got the M1 Bazooka as well as the Panzerschreck. And then finally, for our melee weapon, we've just got the FS Fighting Knife. And there we have it. That is absolutely everything that we have in the Gunsmith, at least in the beta build of Vanguard. Overall, I think a lot of this is looking very good. I'm still a little bit nervous about 10 attachments at once on a gun, simply because that makes for such a massive variety of attachment combinations, which will make it harder to keep everything in balance over time. Of course, that is going to require a lot more playtime with it. Who knows, I might end up loving it and it might not be a problem at all. I just wanted to express the fact that that still concerns me, at least to some extent. Now, of course, with this, I'd like to hear in the comment section below, what do you guys think about all this? What do you think about the Gunsmith, the 10 attachments, all the field upgrades and kill streaks and stuff that we have access to? Are you liking the looks of all of this stuff, or not so much? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.